I'm fine. Phyllis enjoyed that adventure. Yeah. But no, number was 1983.
Oh yeah. They were. And one lady called and she said, I got my way. Good job, Jim. Good job. So I asked you already. Because you had said something that we could get 10. You don't have to read it. Which one does he want? They're much larger. Hard to much larger. How are you?
having on the best we can. She's a big time.
Okay, that's you do. Most of the time.
If I get quiet,
You know.
I'll remember that. Exactly.
hello everybody. Well, I am about 60% today, but he went back to the doctor this afternoon and they're putting him on steroids. Anyway, but he's feeling better. I took him on the way. He says, I'm really starting to feel just a little better, just one dose of all this. He's a trooper. He'll, you know.
Well, he said you made him go to the doctor, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Last 12 days.
You need to find out whether
Not recently.
He got caught up working. He called me this morning. Hey, I'm gonna get back to it.
I'm sorry. And you know, I had my surgery and, you know, but I need to, yeah, but I do need to see it. Right.
I'll send up all of them, but I wanted to get the bag and all that.
And I'll be sure to say something to her about that. No, no, dear. No problem. I'll say something to her. Well, good evening. I want to welcome each one of you to the Halifax County Board of Commissioners meeting on this Monday, April 17th at 5:30. Thank each one of you for being here. I do want to remind my colleagues tonight that this is a budget work session, and, you know, we're going to, Ms. Denton and her staff have been working very hard on the budget, and of course, we're going to try to work through it tonight, but just in case we come up short, we're going to have to meet again next Monday at 5:30, just as an FYI. So just be mindful of that as we move through the budget, okay? I'm going to ask Commissioner Webb to lead us in invocation, and then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance in unison. Those of you who wish to join us, please stand at this time.
Father God, thank you for allowing us to assemble this evening. Father God, give us the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Father God, as this evening, that we didn't make decisions, that we had quality of life, people of Halifax County. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we'll turn our attention toward the adoption of the agenda. I do believe that the county manager has something that she wants to share with us in regards to that. Ms. Denton?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. In light of some of your budget discussions, I do have a request that you amend the agenda slightly. After item 2D, I request that you add in a closed session. That would become item 3. And then item 4 would be my piece of the budget, my summary to come before you. That would be number 4. Other business would become number 5. And your adjournment would be number 6, if you would consider those changes. Yes, ma'am. Number 3 will become closed session. Number 4 will be the county manager's budget summary. Number 5 would be other business. Mr. Chairman, did you want to add in a quick closed session at the end of that too? Excuse me.
No, ma'am. I
Okay.
think when we go in closed session, we'll be able to take
Do it all
care
at
of
once, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then number 6 would be your adjournment. Staff requests those changes just for some discussions to have with you in closed session.
Okay, anything else, commissioners, in regards to that? Thank you, Ms. Denton.
Thank you.
Based upon what she said, can I have a motion with those amendments? Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brewer, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Davis. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Denton. Next item is the conflict of interest statement. In accordance with the Halifax County Board of Commissioners Rules of Procedure in the North Carolina General Statute Section 153A-44, it is the duty of every member present to vote on all matters coming before the board unless there is a conflict of interest as determined by the board or by law. Does any board member have a known conflict of interest with respect to matters coming before the board today? Commissioner Johnson?
No conflict.
Vice Chair Brewer? No conflict. Commissioner? Okay. Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Wales? Madam Clerk, let the record so reflect that the 6 commissioners present do not have conflict with any matters coming before us tonight. First item on the agenda is number 1, agenda item A, resolution to apply for a rural transformation grant to fund Halifax County multipurpose recreation complex. Beth Bircher, who is the Cooperative Extension Director, and I did come upstairs with her a few minutes ago. Good afternoon.
Good evening, Commissioners. How are y'all?
Okay.
Good, good. Come before you tonight, I'm asking that you consider supporting Extension as we apply for the Rural Transformations Grant. There is no matching funds required, but we have a great vision to improve the facilities at the 4-H Rural Life Center. This will be Phase 1 of putting in a 7,200 square foot multi-purpose facility at the 4-H Rural Life Center, already existing land there, to better serve the recreational needs of our rural communities. We have already plenty of land there that is owned by the county, and if we were able to do this building, this will be the beginning of being able to provide all-season access to increase recreation, as well as health and wellness education opportunities. As we know, we're a Tier 1 county, and there is a huge need for that. It also allows for inclement weather activity space, particularly during summer day camps. Right now, they currently have very small spaces to crowd 50 kids in during storms, and this would allow more open access and continue activities. It'll also be a welcoming site for events such as weddings, family reunions, all sorts of things to stimulate the economy of our county that I feel would be of great access to us. So with that, I ask for your consideration to commit your support through the signing the resolution in front of you.
Okay, Commissioner, you've heard the information coming from the Cooperative Extension Director. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Beth, thank you
Thank
so
you very
much for
much.
your hard work with that. We'll appreciate it. Okay, now we get into the fun part. Fiscal year 23-24 budget discussions. Ms. Duncan, you're up first. Fiscal year 23-24 budget discussions. We'll hear from our finance director.
Good evening, everyone. All right, with the assistance over there, we're going to scroll through my presentation here.
Okay.
In front of you, you've got a history of fund balance. Now, this is the same report as what you saw at your retreat back in December, giving you the audited grand total fund balance available as of June 30, 22, $51,331,513. Total fund balance available, you take the prior year's expenditures and you do your percentage out, and so total fund balance available gives you 64.79%. Unassigned fund balance, 32.66%. So it's broken down to, you see you have this restricted, which is state statute, public safety, human services, and debt service. That comes up to the $25,110,350. Committed is the money that we have set aside for revow. And then $4.8 million is what you allowed us to use for fiscal year 23 purposes. Any questions on your audited history of fund balance?
Only thing I'm saying, I'm just glad we're not back in 2016, 2017.
Exactly. The next page of that one is just, it put it into a pie chart, broken back down to where your unassigned is blue, your restricted non-spendable is red, which is the $25,110,350, which is 49%. Committed and unassigned are the other. Committed is so tiny it doesn't even show, and then the assigned is the yellow, which is 9%. Okay. The next piece we have is the working fund balance. That's just gives you guys things that has happened during the year. So we start off again with the fund balance. We remove the restricted and assigned pieces, bringing us back down to the $21,353,952, 32.66%. And then during the year, you've made some appropriations where we've had to do your carry forwards. We had to do different pieces throughout the year. The ED incentives, the bulletproof vest, the capital reserve appropriation that we have in the major projects for down the road there. We have the two matches for our needs-based schools. We have Weldon and Halifax County Schools in there. We were able to transfer over from another department $2 million into fund balance. And then after our first meeting of the month where you guys did the ARPA resolution, we were able to move that $7.7 million into fund balance. So with all of these changes throughout the year, that's giving you an available fund balance right now of $22,094,226, which is, you want to make, you guys have always said you want it between 18 and 22%. That's your goal, to keep your fund balance available through there. Well, you have $7.7 million over the $22 million that you wanted to keep.
Right.
So you still have a lot of flexibility of things that you want to do. And you'll have your big cushion.
Well, you know, yeah, it's a big cushion, but the reason we have that cushion is this board has been fiscally responsible.
You've been
And our
very-
staff, Ms. Denton, before her, Mr. Brown, and of course, you've been around forever.
To quote the bond counsel, I'm well preserved.
That's right. And that wasn't ugly, Miss Denton, Miss Duncan, but, yeah, you've been around for a while, you've done a great job in the finance department.
Thank
But, you know, I just want the public to know, this sounds like a lot, but this board is fiscally responsible, and we're gonna continue to be like that.
We've
Go
been
ahead.
very frugal, very conservative.
Yep.
So, is there any questions on your working fund balance?
Mr. Chair, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
In our former discussions, we talked about what would happen if we didn't have that kind of fund balance and there was an emergency
That's right.
of some kind.
Yeah.
So that was a governing factor also.
Yep, you're right, Ms. Johnson, thank you.
Okay. If we haven't any questions on your working fund balance, your next schedule are the debt payments for 23-24. As you can see in here, we really don't have any debt substantial debt that's going to roll off until June of '26 and September of '26. Next year, we'll pay off one of the things for the sheriff's office. So we've got just those four. Like I said, Manning will not be paid off until April of 2031. And the roll-off truck will be paid off in September of next year, so Enterprise won't have any debt after September of next year. And so your general fund debt service for next year is equivalent to 1 cent is .0872 cents. So basically 9 cents. And a penny, we value that at $355,000 per 100. Okay. If we haven't any questions with the debt service, the next piece you'll see is the fiscal year '24 budget by category. This is where we have taken the budget that you will see tonight and broken it down to the various areas. So fiscal year '24 total budgeted revenue is $53,314,300. Ad valorem, of course, is the largest piece of that, of $31,200,000. Other taxes and licenses, that's your sales tax and all the other motor vehicles, things of this nature. Sales and services and permits and fees. Those are the things the departments do for the community that we charge fees for. Interest, I'm so pleased to say, has gone up drastically. You can see in '23, I only budgeted $1,000. This year, we've estimated $225. So that will help drastically. And then fund balance, what we're asking to use for capital is $3,856,950. So that is a 6.37% increase from last year. And then as you can see, your operating budget is $49,457,350. Your capital budget is what you appropriated fund balance, the $3,856,950. So that balances you back to the $53,314,300. So, do we have any questions on that? Pardon? The ad valorem, that's your personal and real estate taxes. And so that by large is the biggest chunk always. So, and that, like I said, that went up to 725,000. That's when I called the tax collector and asked her how much she can project that we've done. And these are with the new construction, with the new properties and things of this nature. We eke it up, and we're still very conservative on that one. We don't, same thing with sales tax. I take historically and use it pretty much as that. Some people will sit there and take that and multiply it by 5%. I'm not comfortable going that large. I'm going to be historically usaged. Okay. Any questions?
Okay, any questions, Ms. Duncan?
Okay.
If not, Mary, you and your staff, thank you so much for all the fine work that you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Okay, Ms. Wales, Christina Wales.
All right, we're having to do the IT do-si-do.
Yeah, you're going to be talking about the school system allotments and then the fire district rates.
I am.
Okay.
All right. So Renee, if you want to pull up the next, yeah, perfect. So good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners. I'm going to hit some highlights of this lovely chart that you see referenced on the screen. So this is how we calculate our allotments for our three school systems. So what you'll see in the top left corner is that our total projected student population for fiscal year 23-24 is 6,993 students. You may ask, where were we last year? Our estimate last year was 7,100 students. So we are down about 107 students. So what we do with that number, or how we arrive at that number, you'll see across the top in that black bar that Halifax County's projected ADM, which means average daily membership. Their projected ADM who are actually attending school within the school system for this coming year is 2,072 students. You'll see that Roanoke Rapids ADM is 2,648 and Weldon's ADM at 636. But to get the total number of students who belong to each system, because the funding follows the student. So you add the number of students that Halifax County Schools, Weldon City Schools, and Roanoke Rapids Graded School District have belonging to their district but attending charter school elsewhere, whether within the county or outside of the county. And so you add in those numbers. So for Halifax County, there's 1,107 charter school students, 239 charter school students for Roanoke Rapids, and 291 charter school students for Weldon. So what we do is add those two numbers together, and then we multiply that by the total student number that we have, the 6,993, and that gives us the percentage of student population per school district. So you'll see that works out to be 45.46% for Halifax County, 41.28% for Roanoke Rapids, and 13.26% for Weldon. All right, we'll pause there. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
As we look at the budget this year, it was prior to, and I don't know if it's the same now,
Okay.
that once the students were identified, and they were in the school system, then the money came out of the budget that was given to the school system. Is that the same way it is now?
Yes, that the money follows the student
It
and,
goes to the school system, and then the charter
pay-
schools invoice
Yep.
the school system
yeah.
for those students.
So
It
the,
follows the student.
correct.
Yes,
So-
but there is a deadline.
There's a deadline.
There's a
Yeah.
date.
Local dollars too.
Yeah.
Right.
But your
State
other
dollars.
If I send my child to charter school
Yep.
and he comes home December 1, the state money stays in that charter school.
It does.
So it's the same way that it was.
Yeah,
Right.
That never changed.
That didn't-
Yeah.
What changed was the county caught on
Right,
and started going back and billing
right.
for the money for that charter child to be replaced in
And that's still one of y'all's legislative goals, is to have that changed. Yes, ma'am.
The bottom line.
My second question is this.
Yes, ma'am.
Your numbers
Yes, ma'am.
for ADM
Mm-hmm.
are estimated from DPI.
Yes, ma'am. So we're always waiting with bated breath. And then we go to DPI's website. We pull up each school. I only have one copy of this, but I'd be happy to pass it around. And that's where they give us that projected number just of the students who actually physically attend in Halifax County. And then so that we can compare apples to apples when we're going through the budget process, we ask each school system to send us their invoices for the same month. I think this year we asked for month 4. And that way, across the board, we know how many they're being billed for from KIP or GCP or North Carolina Virtual Learning Academy. There's all sorts of different charter schools out there. So, would you like, if you want me, okay. All right. All right, any more questions on population? Okay. So, our local current expense appropriation, that first line, is that $5,352,231. So what we do, as you see going across, is we multiply that total local current expense with the percentage of total student population. So as you'll see, multiplying 5,352,231 by 45.46% for Halifax County results in that number, and the same going across the board for Roanoke Rapids and Weldon. Okay? So as far as the next line, our ABC profits estimate. So this year, we're estimating our revenue for ABC profits to be $190,000. We do the same formula for that revenue. So we multiply that by the percentage, and you'll see those resulting figures under each column. The third line is our fines and forfeitures estimate. And this year, that's estimated to be $150,000. And same percentages apply. So that's how our calculations go, giving us our total current expense appropriations of $5,692,231, and you'll see how that's broken down per school system based on their percentage of population. Okay? Any questions there? Fines and forfeitures?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mary, what all falls in our fines and forfeitures?
That's the court fees, like
Mhm.
you have to go to court for speeding tickets or anything of that nature. The court collects the fees, sends them to us, and then we distribute them to the school system.
So if you forfeit on your bond, you don't appear in court, that bond forfeiture comes back to schools. And any fines that we impose under our county ordinances, all fines have to go to the school systems by constitution in North Carolina.
Okay. All right, and then you'll see that the next to last line is the actual budget requests for current expense that came from each school system when we were talking with them. We met with each school system as we met with our departments. And you'll just see a little comparison to what we are actually allocating versus what they requested. And you'll see that our numbers are actually pretty close, pretty well in line most of the time. Okay? Any questions on the top portion? All right, I'll move to capital outlay. All right. So our total capital outlay appropriation figure is the $747,540. Same calculation applies. Take that percentage, multiply it by that figure, and you'll see that breakdown going across. The Article 44 capital outlay funds. Now this is a fund where you have a bit of option. Article 44 funds have to be spent on economic development, public schools, and/or community colleges. And traditionally, the board has chosen to spend those funds on education. So you'll see that this year, our Article 44 funds are $585,000. And also traditionally, instead of following the formula and doing a proportional share, as we've been doing with the other funds based on population, you've traditionally given those funds or allocated those funds equally across the board for the 3 LEAs and the community college. So that's how we have it plugged in here currently.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Interrupting, but I I don't think we've given the community college the same amount in the past.
Slightly different. Slightly different. Not,
Year's the same.
I know
this year is the same, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's always been maybe about slightly different, a little slightly less. But this year, we've decided, we had an increase, and we've decided to share equally among the four.
And the equal amounts is what, one?
Is the 195.
Okay.
That's right.
And, you know, that's going to require action, commissioners. Do we want to go ahead and do that now and vote on that, or?
It's totally up to you. I'm going to mention it again when I
Okay.
come up. If you want to do it now, that'll check that off the list.
Okay.
Totally
One
up to
less
you.
thing.
All right. Commissioners, what is your pleasure in regards to that? And if are there any questions in regards to what Ms. Wells was saying? 'Cause she said, you know, we have two choices, economic development or education. And this time, we're going to take the route of funding the three public school systems and a community college. And thank Dr. Elliott for being here from community college. Appreciate you being here. What is your pleasure in regards to that?
I move for Article 44 funds as discussed.
Okay, motion made by Vice Chair Brewer. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Webb. Any further discussion? All those in favor by the sign aye. All opposed? Okay. Back on
Okay.
you, Ms. Webb.
Great job, thank you. So you'll see, adding those two figures together, you get your third line, which is the total capital outlay appropriation. And again, in the fourth line, we plug in the budget requests that we receive from the school systems. And you'll see that there are still significant capital needs with our school systems. But hopefully with what's happening with our needs-based public school grant funds in Weldon and Halifax County, hopefully some of that capital need will go away because we'll have two brand-new schools.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
we're all excited about that. And then the final column that you will see broken out by schools, you'll see the school debt service. So you see Enfield at $844,190. You see the Manning Elementary School debt service, and again, Mary referenced these in her figures as well. The 1.2 million. You see the Roanoke Rapids Graded School District, $107,857. Weldon City Schools, QSCAB is $58,077, so our total debt service is roughly $2.2 million. So the final calculation I have at the bottom of the sheet for you is how much money are we spending per student? And you'll see that this year, as it makes sense, since our population went down, expenses don't go down, they tend to go up. We're spending a bit more per student. And the way that we calculate that figure is we add the local current expense appropriation at the top with the ABC profits estimate, and we divide that by the 693,000 total student population to arrive at our fiscal year 23-24 current expense per capita of $792.54 per student. So, I'll be happy to take any questions that you may have, but I think that's all the action that needs to be taken at this point. Is that correct?
Yep, as far as that,
All
yeah,
right.
thank you. Now, are you going to continue?
I'm staying, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
That's what, staying for the show. All right.
Taxing district?
Yes, taxing district. Okay.
All right.
So this should be relatively simple. You'll see our first document with our fire tax districts. You will see their current rates for each district. And we received 2 requests for rate increases for fire taxes. You'll also see at the bottom our school tax districts, and no increase was requested from the school taxing districts. I'm going to give you a little bit of extra information. You'll see, if you scroll a little bit.
Let me ask you a question before you move down. Weldon, are they operating at the max anyway at 20?
Yes, they are. So that would have to be a referendum, would it not, to increase, if they wanted to increase?
Yes, they're at their max of 20.
Yeah, that's our match. You'd have to have a new referendum on that to increase that rate.
That was just a
Yep.
question I thought.
But Halifax County, of course, still has plenty of wiggle room.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So what we do, again, every year in the budget process is we reach out to all of our volunteer fire departments and all of our LEAs, Our school systems get probably three different letters from us. Fortunately, for the fire departments, they only get one. But we ask them every year, do you need to request a fire district tax rate increase? And so you'll see that in your budget packet or your agenda packet, we did receive 2 requests this year from Braysville Volunteer Fire Department and then also from the town of Scotland Neck. The town of Scotland Neck is a bit different because our contract for rural fire protection service is actually with the town of Scotland Neck. Their fire department, unless it's changed, Debbie, is not incorporated. Okay, so our contract and the actual request for the rate increase came from the town. Before I ask for any questions, because we do have representatives here from both fire departments, I will give you a couple of figures, and this is not included in your packet. So I asked our wonderful tax coordinator, and thank you, Doris, how much more money this tax increase would generate for these fire tax districts. So currently, Raysville's fire tax generates $142,938. Their proposed increase would generate an additional $62,216 approximately. For Scotland Neck, their current fire tax generates $93,777. So their proposed increase would generate $29,506. Okay. I really would rather defer directly to the fire departments if you have any questions about the requested increase and why the increase is being requested. As you'll see from that initial chart, Raysville is hoping to go from 0.0663 to 0.09, and Scotland Neck is seeking to go from 0.07 to 0.09.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wells. Commissioners, would you all like to hear from the respective departments regarding why they request an increase? Okay, with that being said, we're going to ask for Reedsville to come up first. Identify yourself, and thank you for being here. And I know this young man.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Commissioners. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. First of all, our fire chief is Keith Browder. He got held up at work. He was unable to make it, so he wanted me to send his condolences that he wasn't here to present this himself. But my name is Michael Butts. I'm a firefighter for Raysville Fire Department. I've been there since I was 15. So I'm 34 now. I've been there right at 20 years. So Raysville Fire Department is asking to increase to 0.09 cent to 9 cent from our current rate of 0.0663 cents. This will bring us in line with what other departments in the county are currently already receiving. Reason number one need for an increase is to equip firefighters now is somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000 to equip the new firemen. That's from head to toe, air pack, helmet, hood, all of our equipment we need, life-saving equipment. Since COVID, there has been a 30% increase in the cost of equipment and a 32% increase in the cost of a fire truck. Our newest truck was purchased in 2019, and all of our other trucks in our fleet are at least 20 years old. As time progresses, this increase that we're asking for will become more relevant to our services provided to our citizens. We're trying to prepare for the future of Raysville Fire Department with these requests, so we hope you take that one reason into consideration. Reason number two I have, needing for an increase, we're in dire need of hiring one paid member to assist with daytime responses. The current state of the economy, our members must work to provide for their families. Employers are not as willing to allow members to respond to calls as they once were, which leaves us with some voids during daytime calls for service. We want to continue to provide the premium service to our citizens that we serve, and at this point, the time has come that we have a need to hire someone to continue to provide that service that we're currently providing. So that's reason number two. Reason number three we have is the need of an increase is we're in desperate need of a new station as well. We have received quotes for a station to accommodate the needs of our department, and the quote came to somewhere around $1.8 million. We have been preparing for this over about the past 10 years or so, and we have an account set up that we are putting money aside to help fund this project. We do not have all that we need to try to make this happen, so this increase will assist in the future of our department. Our current station is sinking. Believe it or not, the building's sinking. And we have the bays do not accommodate the size of a current fire truck, meaning that our citizens on the southern end of our district are currently receiving responses with newer equipment because our substation has the ability to house those new trucks and equipment. Our main station does not. So people in the northern part of our district are not receiving, we're doing the best we can with what we have, in other words. And then, in closing, we feel that the request is reasonable for the current increase in the cost of us protecting the citizens in our district, and we hope that you will take these things into consideration when making the decision to help us provide the best possible service for our community. So does anyone have any questions for me other than what I've spoke on?
Okay.
Would you like me to elaborate on anything?
Any questions of Mr. Butts? Did you have any questions, Ms. Johnson? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How many volunteers do you currently have, and do you see an increase in the number of volunteers?
Yes, ma'am. So we currently have, I believe it's 18 volunteers at Raysville, and we are doing things, in the past 2 months, we've had 2 more members join, so at this point we have 2 on probation and 18 full members. We also have a junior program that we've started to try to do some recruitment, to try to catch kids young and give them somewhere to go to safe, to kind of try to learn a trade, right? So I started as a fireman when I was 15, and I, through the progression, ended up being a full-time fireman for the city of Roanoke Rapids for 10 years. And I solely credit that to Raysville Volunteer Fire Department. They gave me a start. So we're trying to incorporate more with the kids in our community. We're trying to get more people involved in our community. And by doing that, we're trying to increase our recruitment process. So yes, ma'am, we are trying to recruit more volunteers. But these days, people have to work. It's just harder for them to be able to volunteer time.
So specifically, what would be the responsibility of the paid member?
So our paid member would be there to help us ensure that all of our equipment and trucks are being checked off daily like they should be. We're making sure that we're getting a response from our fire department, as well as allowing to provide a mutual aid response to our outlying departments as well, because we run mutual aid. We run a 3-department response, if you all didn't know that, for any kind of structure fires. So us having a paid person on staff allows us to get a truck on scene faster to provide a better service for the community. So we're not having to wait from 8 to 5 during the daytime hours for someone to get to the station, get a truck, and get to your emergency. We're able to put somebody in the truck in 5 minutes to make a response. So that's really what we're looking for, is to just try to provide a better service for our community.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll hear from Representative from Scott Lynette. See, you got your town administrator here, too.
My name's Deborah Hopkins. I'm the chief with the Scotland Neck Fire Department. Pretty much same thing as Raysville. We're looking to get one paid person in our district, because right now we have 25 volunteers. Out of that 25, we might have 5 in town that actually work in town and can respond. And out of that 5, 3 of those are farmers, so farming season's getting ready to crank up too. So it's kind of hard to get those in there. Mainly what we need to do is try to get somebody that's paid in there so we can have a better response time. We're currently doing as much as we can. We apply for as many grants as we can. Last year we got $80,000 worth of grants because, like I said, we're just trying to keep up with the equipment. Mostly what we're asking for is the money just to help provide personnel.
All right, any questions or comments of Debbie? If not, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, commissioners, I think at this point, did you have anything? Yes, sir, Attorney Rollins.
Chairman, if I may, I need to point this out to the board because it's very common we have to get into this situation. But as you know, all of the contracts we have for rural fire protection, except for one, are with incorporated volunteer fire departments.
Right.
2 of those are associated with the town of Enfield and the town of Weldon. They're not departments of those towns, but we, in addition to the town of Enfield and the town of Weldon, support those 2 volunteer fire departments as well. Here with Scotland Neck, we don't have an incorporated volunteer fire department, so our only option for funding with the tax district is to contract with the town of Scotland Neck for our rural fire protection. Like Weldon and like Enfield, one of the things you always need to ask when you're being asked to increase your rural fire district tax is whether or not there's going to be a similar increase in funding from the municipality that supports that fire department, so that things stay relatively the same in terms of the proportion portion of support that the two governments are providing. So you might want to inquire about that with respect to Scotland Neck. I don't know what the answer would be, but I
Okay.
think it's a fair inquiry.
All right. Mr. Town Administrator for Scotland Net.
Yes, sir.
Do you mind coming up to the mic and responding to that, please? Did you understand Mr. Rollins' question?
Yes, I did anticipate that question,
Okay.
and as of right now.
I know who you are, but just give your name and.
Yes, my name is Thomas Evans, Town Administrator for Scotland Neck.
Thank you. Good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. With that being said, we did anticipate this question here to be asked.
Yes, sir.
And we will be looking into seeing what we can also add to this funding that equate to the tax increase.
Okay, so I guess my question is, so does that mean that you're going to, if we decide to approve it, and I don't know what the board, this board is going to do, but if we decide to approve it, does that mean that you're going to more than likely match what we're doing?
I will have to go and look at the numbers for that
Okay.
and know what your match is going to be.
Attorney Rollins?
I don't want to get too deep into the weeds, it's a long night. It doesn't necessarily have to be a match, but what we need to know now is how do the two sources of revenue compare? The county may be given quite a bit more than the town, and you don't want that to come out of sync. In other words, whatever our proportional increase is, we would like to see a proportional increase by the town of Scotland Neck, because your rural fire department residents can only pay a tax to support rural fire protection.
Right.
They can't pay that tax to support fire protection in the municipality. This is why you want it to stay relatively the same over time. So what we need to know is that the support from the town of Scotland Neck is going to be proportionately the same as it is now, or as close as you can be. They may decide they want to pay much more,
Right.
which is great for the fire department, but you don't want to see that shift going toward the rural residents. That means they're paying taxes that are supporting municipal fire protection.
And not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think that you would pretty much be in line with that, right?
Yes,
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, with that being said, Commissioners, did you have anything you want to add? Ms. Wells, anything else about that? Where are you?
I'm over here, sorry.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
I'm driving the bus.
Did you have anything else you want to add about the fire tax districts?
I do not. I thank them for coming and giving their reasons. As expected, many departments are going to the paid staff. Did we not, do we need to go ahead and get approval on the taxing district rates?
By virtue of adopting your budget ordinance, that's when you will approve all the rates, so you don't have to make a decision tonight.
Okay,
In your budget ordinance, all the taxing districts are listed, your fire taxing districts, and then your two school tax districts, of course, and the county's tax rate. They'll all be in the budget ordinance.
so we can approve it at that time?
If you choose to, yes.
Okay.
Now, staff would like some direction so that we can prepare for it. And if that's what you would like for us to do, just print out these numbers that we have computed. We can certainly do that and then reach out to certainly Scotland Neck
Okay,
for what the town's contribution might be.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I guess my question will be, until we get some kind of definitive answer from Scotland Neck, per our attorney's information.
You really want to know that you're
Yeah,
not
I
shifting.
hear you.
You really do want to know that you're not shifting the burden of municipal fire protection on your rural fire protection district citizens. That really is important.
Okay,
And so we really need to know that. And I agree with you can adopt the rate when you adopt the budget ordinance as part of the budget ordinance, but we're going to need that information about what Scotland Neck the town of Scotland Neck is going to be doing with respect to its financial support for the Scotland Neck Fire Department.
okay.
So we're saying we can delay until we get that additional information.
Right, from Scotland Net. Yep, and then we can adopt it at the time we do the budget ordinances and all. Okay, I think, Mr. Town Administrator, you have your marching orders in regards to that, right? Okay, and we need to hear back from you and probably just communicate with Ms. Denton on that. Okay. All right, And then this, I guess the school tax, we can do that the same way, school tax districts, right? We can adopt that at that time, okay. All right, so we'll move on to the next item. And look, again, like Ms. Wells said, thank you all so much for coming tonight, fire departments, okay?
Thank you for listening.
All right. At this time, we're going to move to personnel position request from Ms. Perry.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
How y'all doing?
All right.
So each year during the budget process, we meet with our various departments just to determine if they need new positions or not. And so when we had those meetings with our departments, we discovered there's 3 departments that need positions. So the Department of Social Services requested a social worker 2 position, and the justification for that is Senate Bill 105 removed the cap for special assistance in home services, which requires counties to assess all potential clients for eligibility. So at this point, I believe they have 1 person on staff that has a caseload that they pretty much can't handle right now. And so there's a waiting list in which they have to work down that list because those clients can't stay on the list. So the justification for that is listed on the spreadsheet. And the total cost with fringes for that position is $62,135. And currently that's funded in your balanced budget. So you don't have to find funding for that one. So for public utilities, so right now the fire hydrants are I guess, maintenance by contracted services. So I guess we found that they weren't being maintenance like they should be. So the request from the Public Utilities Department was to just create 2 positions and use those use those funds from contracted services to create 2 county positions. And so the salaries with fringes for that one is $91,530, and I believe that the contracted services has about $77,000 on it. So the difference would come from revenue from the water department. And so for human resources, right now currently there's a part-time position that's an agent assistant. And so the agent coordinator is requesting that position goes full-time, but it's 100% grant funded. And so that gives her the opportunity to have an assistant to help with day-to-day tasks in the agent department. So if this is approved during your budget process, you would be approving 4 additional positions in your ordinance moving forward for fiscal year 23-24. So the total cost is $194,516 for those 4 new positions.
Okay.
So, you have any questions about that?
Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
So, the aging position, you said it's covered by grant?
Yes, 100%. Yes, yes, ma'am?
I don't think any of this is any cost to us.
No,
Right.
no additional.
Because I know when they were kind of briefing me on it, you know, my right eyebrow went up real high.
Yeah, we have it covered already. Yep. Any more questions? We good?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, we're
thank
good.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, Ms. Johnson, the joke of that is, you know, when I was working with probation and the manager, you know, when they used to come in my office, we had to deal with some difficult stuff. Whenever they know I didn't like something, that little right brow would go up. And Christina picked up on that the other day. We got a joke off that. Okay. And that will also be in the ordinance. Am I correct, Ms. Denton?
Yes, sir. All full-time funded positions will be on the last page of our ordinance by department. So
Right.
you'll see a list of all the departments and all of the full-time funded positions.
Okay, very good. All right. The next thing we have to do here, if I'm in order, commissioners and county manager and county attorney, we need to go into closed session in regards to budget, personnel. Attorney Rollins?
Just an attorney-client privilege conversation in closed session.
Okay. Ms. Scott, you're quiet. Do you have anything in closed session?
No, sir, I do not.
All right.
I wouldn't dare do that to you on a budget discussion night.
Ms. Denton, do we have anything else? Did I name them all?
You know,
Okay. All right, with that being said, commissioners, can I get a motion to go into closed session? Is there a second? Motion made by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor by the sign aye. All opposed? Just before you all move, Attorney Rollins and Ms. Denton, and I'm asking the commissioners too, we come out, will there be any action? Just for the,
No, sir, you'll just continue with your meeting, your budget discussion. There's no action to be taken after that. I think we'll be about 10 minutes. If it goes longer than that, it means I've really messed up, or you've really got good questions. So-
Right, and then what I have about personnel law, that go for a minute or two, so you're about right, about 10 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, but if you're not a part of